For those who make and sell wine, almost feel at the moment we're at something of a crossroads. Serious economic concerns, particularly at this moment with the threat of Trump tariffs. Do you feel confident that wine will survive through all these challenges that we're currently facing?
The current situation is not simple for me. The problem of the duty issue is a matter of geopolitical and trade dynamics. So, in my opinion, probably the mid-range wines, neither entry level, not luxury segment, risk losing probably competitiveness because the price increase would make that less attractive than their probably American or South American competitors.
Fascinating people with stories to share, fabulous wines and the best local foods to accompany them, and beautiful places to discover and visit. All of this and more on Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on the Italian Wine Podcast. Join me for a new episode every Tuesday. Welcome to Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on Italian Wine Podcast. Today we travel to Piedmont, to the Comune of Canelli, to meet my guest, Cinzia Benzi, wine and food author, journalist, Donna del Vino. Buongiorno, Cinzia. Many thanks for being with us this morning. How are you today?
Buongiorno. Good morning, Mark, and thank you so much of this invitation for me. It's a great honor to be here, and I'm in Canelli today, yes.
Oh, great. I'm interested to know that you spend your time between Canelli, this beautiful village in the wine hills. Is this the Provincia di Asti?
Yes.
And Milan, and also on the Adriatic coast at Cesenatico. Can you tell us a little bit about the importance of these three places in your life?
That's right. I was born in Canelli in 1970, a place where Moscato d'Asti is produced, a type of white grape wine that I love, probably a sign of destiny, I don't know. But the nectar of Bacchus is one of my reasons for living, and it's a passion transmitted to me by my father, but my father, who was not a winemaker, but a painter. A man who made me realize early on how much the subject of wine had to be studied with seriousness and dedication. Even as a child, I was attracted by the magic that grape could transmit to me from vineyards that surrounded my home. The truth that this fruit could turn into wine fascinated me greatly. I remember standing at the window for hours during harvest time, admiring the carts laden with grapes, and the scent of wine of these grapes is unbelievable. So anyway, I love Monferrato. I love Piedmont. I always had the desire to go beyond the regional borders to explore the world. And I love reading and traveling. I divided, you have a reason, my time between Milan, the city that adopted me and allowed me to measure my professional skills, and the sea, because I love Cesenatico, is a place that I have more of my friends. I have a little home, and probably I take a refuge in Romagna, where I find the affection of my friends. But Canelli remains a fixed stop of my constant travels. And since 2020, it has once again become the home I share with my husband that work in Lancashire.
Okay, that's a really interesting story. And it seems, Cinzia, you have a beautiful balance to your life. You have
Yeah.
this home where you were born, where you grew up amongst the beautiful wine hills of the Monferrato. You have the big city of Milan, which is exciting and important professionally. And then you have the beauty of the Adriatic coast, that Romagna coast, which is really beautiful, and also, of course, a wonderful source of different foods than Langhe, than Piedmont. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I'd love the story that your love of wine came from when you were a child. You were actually fascinated by the vineyards, by the smell. Of course,
Yeah.
Moscato has the most beautiful aromas of all the grapes, and aroma really grapes, that grapiness that Moscato has.
Yes.
And it fascinated you. And I guess as well, Moscato d'Asti being only 5% alcohol, it was probably a wine, the first wine you began drinking.
But yeah, and I think he's a modern wine today. So we can share after, but I think it's probably one of the kind of modern wine that probably the people can discover or rediscover. No, I think.
I think so too. I think it's such a light and fresh,
Yes.
beautiful wine, and that the aromas when well made. It's certainly a wine I love. It's a wine my children loved growing up as well. It was the first wines I gave them, and I think they gained their love of wine as
Yes.
well. Cinzia, you also have a great love of France, a great connection in
Uh,
particular with Bordeaux. Why
yeah.
is Bordeaux a place that's so deeply in your heart? And what do you most love about the area and indeed about the wines?
Yes. So France is my adopted country, the home of my most serious and at the same time light-hearted enological studies and friendship. You have a reason. I had the great fortune to live in Paris, study and get to know many people who are still part of my circle of best friends today too. I have traveled a lot around the country, visiting wineries, monuments, trying to satisfy my every curiosity about wine and gastronomy because Mark, food being my equal fixation to wine.
Mm.
So anyway, Bordeaux is a special city of my studies because I think that traveling opens your mind. And as far as I'm concerned, the comparison with the France of wine is an added value. So if the most memorable trips are made with the heart, in Bordeaux land bring to mind unforgettable days because I study in Bordeaux and I spend decades of my holidays visiting every corner of this portion of the southwest of France. Areas such Margaux, Pauillac, Saint-Émilion, Pomerol, and Sauternes and Barzac, my great passion for this noble rot wine.
Oh, well, that leads on to my next question. I'm just thinking that this connection again with wines that have this delicious balance of sweetness and acidity that, of course, you find in the wines of Canelli, but also you found
Yes,
a different style of wonderful dessert wines, these noble rot wines in Sauternes and Barzac. And of
yes,
course, you've just written a book, or your most recent book is about one of the world's most famous wine estates, Château Yquem. I've been to
yes,
Sauternes many times, but I've never had the chance to visit this historic estate. So tell us
yeah.
about it, about the people who make possibly the greatest dessert wine in the world.
Yes, Icam is a legend, and I've had the good fortune in my life to visit this wonderful chateau every year for more than 20 years of my life, previewing the vintages and understanding the manic work that goes into the Premier Cru Superior alone. The idea of this book was created in July 2019. That I arrived in Sauternes in Yquem and realized that there were changes at Yquem, a boutique at the reception, new tasting rooms, the possibility of being able to walk through the chateau when drinking a glass of Sauternes in the gardens in front of the vines. So for me, it's totally a new sensation of novelties, but novelties of a legend. So, a magic moments that I have to find a way to write about this magical place, about the lights that make Icam unique, about the incredible work that goes into the glass of Icam, but also about how many young people work in this legendary place. A special project of social sustainability and I think a unique human heritage. So, another things, because after 1 year, arrived in ICAM a great person, young man from Rome, an Italian man, Lorenzo Pasquini, that is now the director of exploitation. And it seems to me that once again, the talent of this young man enriches the story that had to be told. And I decided to compose my book with ICAM and with the fantastic support of Francesca Brambilla and Serena Serrani, two extraordinary traveling companions who have composed this book of images. So my words are important, but the pictures are very, very, very important for see immediately the legend of Château d'Yquem. And for the first time, Mark, I wrote in French the book. So it's for me a very hard work because I wrote in Italian, so my language, and in French, supported by the ICAM team like Valérie, Annabelle, Tiffany, and another version in English, but this is translated. And not my English is not so good. I excuse myself for this, but I would like to say that ICAM is really a legend. And when you visit and when you study these particular things of this chateau, you understand the thing that 1855 ICAM is the premier cru superior. So it's really correct today.
It's an incredible story. And what I love about that, Cinzia, is the social sustainability that you mentioned, the human side. It's easy with a legendary wine, a wine
Yeah,
as famous as Ecam, to forget the people that are working so hard with such precision and with such hand care, passing through the vineyards many, many times to select
absolutely.
the grape by grape, virtually, these grapes affected by the pourriture noble,
Yeah,
the muffa nobile, to
sì, sì.
make these wines with such hand care that's quite unique, and to get a sense of that human story is very important.
So often Icam is recognized like a dessert wine, but it's not correct. I would like to say that Icam cannot be considered as only a dessert wine. No more of this somewhat congealed gastronomic cliche, because Icam is extraordinary with a slice of Parmigiano Reggiano, with fish. You can try with roast chicken, is fantastic, and with the dessert or blue cheese, of course, but not only with this.
Oh, that's interesting. I was thinking, of course, with foie gras as a classic,
Yeah,
and the and Roquefort, but I would never imagine, though, Cinzia, drinking or having. Not that I have the opportunity to drink Ycam very often. I've tasted it only a few times in my life, but to have it, to have the great pleasure to be able to have a glass with a roast chicken. That sounds
so
amazing.
we can make an appointment with a special dinner together, and I bring Icam and you can offer the roast chicken. For me, it's perfect.
Well, that would be wonderful. I shall look forward to that with the greatest pleasure.
Where you want.
Okay, I'm going to hold you to that one. Now, just talking to you this little bit, I can see how the human story is so interesting to you in your explorations of wines and foods. And I know you studied psychology. Was that in Bordeaux? And before you moved into the professional world of food and wine, and I can see that that link is important to you, that human link. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very important every time of my life, and now is not another part of my life because I'm older. But the studies and the possibility to enrich all of the things of your profession, your passion is important. For me, you cannot make things or without the study of the things. It's not possible.
Yes, yes, I can see that. And also, I'm really interested that that your approach to wine and food is completely integrated. The world of food is an equal passion, not separate, but very much
Yes.
linked to one. That's actually been my approach as well over my profession. But why food so important to you? What does food represent culturally? You know, food is not just from one Michelin star restaurant to another, but it's so
Wow.
linked to who we are, to our very identities.
Yes, it's very important because when you're looking for a new wine or a new winery, you are interested to understand who is the person, who is the wine, who is the all of the things. For the food, for me, is the same. So I cannot go to try a new restaurant, but I would like to understand who is the kind of rice or pasta or meat or vegetables that use. I would like to understand how is the possibility to explain how is the new philosophy of gastronomy. The world of gastronomy is totally changed in 10 years completely. And it's important for me study the connection of the producer of the area that are produced particularly ingredients. So every time the culture is a thing that you can not pay, but it's important for understand in every time of the life.
Yes, absolutely. And when you say that the world of gastronomy has changed in the last 10 years, do you mean that as that consumers' awareness and interests in food have become much more detailed, wanting to know where particular ingredients from, wanting to see tradition but also innovation? Is that what you mean by the changes that have happened in a relatively short time? Because you're right, the world is, and especially when we're looking at a country like Italy, where tradition and regionality is so important.
Yes, anyway, it's very important for me that if you would like to make innovation, you can understand and study the tradition. So every basic ingredients are normal, the ABC of the gastronomy travel that you made. It's not possible to talking about the special gastronomic items if you don't understand how is a good pasta or good rice, for example.
Okay, and as well, I think you, when you say that innovation must come from tradition, and of course, Italy and France have
Yeah,
such rich traditions. I guess that leads me to my question about your work with one
yeah,
of Italy's greatest and most creative chefs, Moreno Cedroni, who I had
yes.
a chance to meet for the first time last year and dined in the wonderful Madonnina del Pescatore,
Oh,
which and chatted with him and went into his laboratorio afterwards. And I can see exactly what fascinated you by this incredible creativity, but totally rooted in place and tradition. Tell us
yes.
about your work with Moreno.
Moreno is the chef who celebrated last year 40 years careers in Senigallia, in Madonnina del Pescatore. And I wrote my first book with him in 2011. A short biography that was followed by Moreno Cedroni in other three books after. And probably the last book in 2019, the title is Cedroni, the creative thinking that changed Italian cuisine. And I think this is the real DNA of Moreno. Moreno is one of the person that studied in every time of his life. So after 40 years of careers, you cannot stop to study. This is, I think, it's really the most important things for a vision of this world. I think it's important.
Yes, he had such a infectious desire to learn and to share with guests in the restaurant. And, you know, I can remember going over to the laboratorio just a
Yes,
few doors
tunnel.
down, and
It's
all
the
sorts of
tunnel.
things were going in there. Some very strange things were going on in there. And it was playful and it was fun. And you could see that Moreno really delights in making food, not just delicious, not just serious, which you almost have to worship on a plate, but food that delights people and makes them happy.
Yes, yes. Moreno is undoubtedly talent personified, who never stops his questioning vision always projecting a new future into his cuisine with a maturity, probably that guides him in his always winning choices, I think.
Yes, yes, I'm sure that's right. And I look forward to visiting again. I think I'm going to Les Marques again in is Les Marques where
Yes,
he in Senegalia, isn't
in
it?
Senegalia.
Just below, not far from Cesenatico then.
No, it's more than 1 hour. It's no, no,
Just an
no.
hour
It's
south.
far.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. I love that coast. Now, Cinzia, another one of your books is Vino Femminile Plurale.
Ah, yes.
What do you mean by this title?
So this book came out in 2017, and I can assure you that such a contemporary vision of a woman of wine, seen as the one who could produce it, communicate it, create it, sell it, was not so obvious. So I can say without fear of being contradicted, then probably in that year, the women of wine were the wife or companion of the producer. So I wanted to trace a different path of and have collected a small slice of real lives of a great woman. For me, dear friends, such as Camilla Lunelli of Cantine Ferrari, Marilisa Allegrini, Raffaella Bologna of Brida, Cristina Zigliani of Berlucchi, Anna and Valentina Bona of Marchesi di Barolo, to name a few of these great, great, great women. So then other female colleagues wrote other texts, but my vision was not from a sexist point of view. And I would like to explain this. Rather, my desire was a simple act of witnessing how female talent in the world of wine was and is fundamental and plural. So now, and it wasn't, it is now. And so probably this, Mark, when I studied my psychology and university, my professor with whom I developed my thesis always told me, Cinzia, women have the gift of analysis, while males have that of synthesis. Today, probably it's correct or not, but for me, the women in Vino Femminile Plurale are the great, great women of the wine world. I cannot explain now is change. Probably this book, it's the first book that explain this diversity. Yes, probably. But now it's important talking about the women of wines. Stop for me.
Yes, I think it is incredible to think, Cinzia, that this was 2017. And as you say, women really didn't have a profile in their own right so
Yeah,
much. I know actually the women you mentioned, I don't know them as friends as you do, but I know them as leaders of their companies and I've met them and of course I admire them and the magnificent wines they make. But it is incredible how women have really in a very short time,
yeah.
relatively short time, have really taken their place on the main stage. Certainly in Italy, perhaps more so than elsewhere, would you think?
Probably.
More so than in France?
I know very well the France condition, and probably the Italian do it better.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know, but I think it's different approach, probably.
Okay. Now you mentioned Le Donne del Vino. This organization
L'association.
was begun more than 20 years ago, wasn't
Yeah,
it? Was it in the 80s or 90s? And do you think that Le Donne del Vino is one way that is given much more recognition to women in wine in Italy?
yeah, absolutely. Of course, a national association that I attend less than I would like, but I support with my narrative thread at every possible moment. And it's composed by the producer, by the journalist, by the sommelier. And I believe in teamwork, in synergies, in the comparison between colleagues from every corner of the planet and Italy. Of course, it's important. Wine is a living matter and culture is the most economical viaticum that can allow us to grow. For me, this is my opinion. Sometimes by talking about our skills, sometimes by listening careful to others, but the Association Donne del Vino is a great example of how this world can work as a system.
Do you think that through this association, and there's been a realization, a consensus about what women do better than men, what women bring to the world of wine?
No,
That,
no,
no.
I think that is really a possibility to make really teamwork, to make a new project. It's very hard every time to make these different places for women and for men. No, I think it's not correct, the approach.
Okay. Okay. I
For me, this
understand that.
is my opinion,
Yeah.
Mark.
Yeah. And what about inequality in the world of wine and hospitality
Mhm.
between men and women? Do you think there's still a great divide? And is there anything that can be done to improve this?
Mm. I want to think that inequalities are less and less obvious to make way for talent, for meritocracy. So every day I try to treasure the family teaching that my parents passed on to me. So respect for the person, man or woman, for the given words, for professional and private seriousness. So honesty undermines pretense, and in a world full of platitudes, we need the concreteness, the one word included for me.
Sure, sure, I understand. Now, finally, for those who make and sell wine, as well as for those of us who write about it, I think we almost feel at the moment we're at something of a crossroads. Climate change is a huge issue and is having a massive impact on wine producers. Then there are serious economic concerns, particularly at this moment with the threat of Trump tariffs and the impact that this will have on producers who depend on their exports to the US. And also, I think there's consumption in general is falling away, and there are draconian health warnings from WHO and authorities in EU, in the US, and the UK about wine and health. And we're finding a younger generation doesn't connect with wine as naturally as previous generations. Do you feel confident that wine
Hmm.
and the beautiful culture of wine will survive through all these challenges that we're currently
Uh,
facing?
yes. So it's a good question. The current situation is not simple for me. The problem of the duty issue is a matter of geopolitical and trade dynamics. So, in my opinion, probably the mid-range wines, neither entry level, not luxury segment, risk losing probably competitiveness because the price increase would make that less attractive than their probably American or South American competitors. Perhaps even the best known appellation could engulf lesser known Italian wines. I would like to explain with an example. Thinking of the Prosecco phenomenon. So I love the Bollicine, the sparkling wines are another great, great passion of me. And I thinking about this. So the Prosecco could have a setback to make room for champagne or Franciacorta, for example, because premium customers are less sensitive to price increases. But this drop in consumption, especially among young people, should give us pause for through because if health, the safety of drinking, a problem of driving a car without anchoring and registered alcohol test limits leads to the more other important things. So it's not a good period, absolutely. But in my opinion, I think and I would like there will be a transformation, but let's not paint the future with a dark gray. There I can and must be a point of blue in the sky because the history of wine will continue through celebrations, through conviviality, through a probably a liquid art form. And if consumed in moderation, it does not harm indeed. For me, wine is not just a drink, but a piece of civilization.
That's a wonderful thought to end our conversation on. And I love too that you brought back that link between wine and art, perhaps which brings us back to where you started from with your father, an artist, introducing you to your love of wine.
Yes.
Cinzia, it's been a really fascinating conversation. I'm so glad we've been able to meet up this morning, and I will hold you to that promise of roast chicken with Château.
Absolutely. Yes,
That would be a
it's
real
my
treat.
promise.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Mark, really. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And
I've
it's
really
a
enjoyed
great
this.
opportunity to me to share all of the things that I love, because I love wine, and probably my passion became in my profession. And I think I'm a lucky woman.
Yes, and I share that with you as well. I think that those of us have the good fortune to work in wine and food and beautiful culture and places. We are definitely very fortunate. So, Cinzia, I hope we can meet sometime soon. Would you be at Vinitaly?
Yes, absolutely. I received a special invitation from the great woman like Stevie Kim for the opera wine. And after, I will visit Vinitaly for all of the days. Yes, it's a great
Wonderful.
appointment.
It is a great appointment. Well, I hope that our paths will cross there, and I look forward to meeting. But in the meantime, thank you so much for being my guest today and sharing your story with our listeners.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Grazie e buona giornata.
Buona giornata.
We hope today's episode of Wine, Food and Travel with me, Marc Millon, on the Italian Wine Podcast has transported you to somewhere special. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your pods. Likewise, you can visit us at italianwinepodcast.com. Until next time, chin chin.